Okay, we are back. A lot to talk about today. Actually, a few minutes early. So I wanted to get on because I wanted to touch on a couple of things that I was thinking about, and I wanted to chat about them. So, okay, today we are going to talk about why people shift after they leave us, and it was kind of I was listening to a review today of a show called Invincible, and I haven't watched it really. I watched a little bit of it, but I haven't really watched it. But there's a part on there where one of the main characters, I guess he wasn't really attached to the people on Earth, but he was really attached to the people on another planet. And the son, who was the son of his wife on Earth, was like, why the hell do you care about these people when you don't care about the people on Earth? Why are these people so different, right? And it made me kind of think of an old adage that I had a lady I used to know. She would say every time she broke up with somebody, they would get engaged. Like the next person they met, they would get engaged to. But when they were with her, they would never get engaged. But it never failed. Like everyone she met, the next person they met, they'd get engaged to. As soon as they broke up with her, she broke up with them. So it kind of made me think why this happens. And why we take that very personal. We make that very personal where we have a relationship with someone, we have a reality with someone, and we want it to be one thing, and it never quite gets to where we want it to be, and then we see them go off, and then everything that we wanted them to be, it seems like they become with another person. And we really take that personal, we make that personal. We kind of try to make that something that is going on with us. You know, we kind of have our inner narcissist that starts talking to us. That it was us. You know, we're not as good as that person is. We're not as, you know, we couldn't make them love us the way they love that person. We couldn't make them commit the way they commit to that person. And we get all this negative self-talk going about, and I usually don't like the word positive or negative. It's kind of surprising that I even said that there, but I guess it is kind of what happens. Our inner narcissist does have a lot of the chit chat that makes us feel bad, and we start to believe that, and we start to kind of keep recreating realities where that happens. So there's a part of these realities where we keep recreating the same situation because we've gotten to believe that. You know, even if it's a reality we say we don't want again. But because it's still held in our body template, we can still attract it. And this is sort of what's the word? This is sort of the caveat to what people say, well, I didn't want to attract that, but I attracted it anyway. I tried not to think about it, and I didn't want it to happen, but it happened anyway. Why did I keep creating it? If I don't believe in it, why does it keep happening? It's still held in our body template somewhere. So when we start holding our consciousness, and we have to hold the higher consciousness of the realities we want until the other realities break. And sometimes that means we get hit with a lot of realities we don't want, because it takes a while for our body template to clear that program, to clear that belief. Right? It's not as easy as I just won't think about it and it will happen. Because I will tell you, 9 times out of 10, a lot of times we'll do that, or we'll ignore stuff for a while. Ignoring it's kind of a little different, but it's kind of the same. It's in that same genre because we don't really clear it from our body template. We don't hold it. We don't hold the higher consciousness long enough. We kind of will go back in and out of it. You know, we'll go back and play in the human stuff. We'll go back and play in a human situation because we want to. It's something over there that still entices us. You know, we still want to be in that. So we'll go back and play in that for a while. We'll go back and play in this for a while. And when we do that, we're disconnecting from our higher consciousness realities. And we do that, we're kind of doubling down on our old templates. And it takes our templates longer to rewrite. So there might be things that happen, even though we'll say, well, I didn't want that to happen. I wasn't trying to use the human word. I wasn't trying to manifest that, but it keeps happening. Because it's still held in our body. We still believe that. We haven't held the consciousness high enough to break it. And we might have to hold that consciousness for years and years and years and years and years the higher consciousness, the higher beliefs, that that's not part of our reality anymore, and ignore everything that says it is, in a sense, and ignore all the other things that starts happening that wants to entice us back in. It's like we can't leave human dimensional realities, we can't leave third dimensional realities behind if we keep bringing in third dimensional consciousness. If we keep tuning our consciousness to those vibrations, to those frequencies, we're not able to clear it. We can have one toe kind of in higher dimensional realities, and we can tune into the consciousness, but we're not trying to hold it. We're not trying to embody it. We're kind of going in and out. And there's been some things I have tried to ignore and no matter what happens, because human realities are kind of, it's manipulation realities, it's bullying realities, they're very, shaming realities. So when we start pulling out of those realities, we really have to just really tune them out and say, those are not my realities. I'm going to go on and create something new, and I'm not going to give that any of my time. And until we do that for long periods of time, we can't rewrite our templates. We can't really clear the program. So you're going to find that sometimes people will shift out of your reality, and they really start to shift a lot more once they're gone. There's another reason why there's a billion reasons why it happens. There's another reason we're going to talk about too, why this can happen. But that main reason, well, not main, but one of the reasons is we still hold it in our template. So we'll feel like it keeps happening. We're still trying to clear the program, especially if it's doubling down in our inner narcissist, our self-worth. We're going to keep bringing this in. We're going to keep bringing this in so we can clear it. We're going to keep saying, okay, well, is this really true? Why is everyone, getting chosen over me? How come every time these people leave, they get with another person and then they're going off and being this amazing partner I wanted them to be when they were here? You can even take it if in a job situation where you wanted this promotion, you wanted to have this thing, you were trying to create a job for yourself, or wanted to get in a certain place, and they wouldn't do it. And the minute you go and take another job somewhere else, all of a sudden they do it with somebody else, right? They kind of open up every door for somebody else, but when you were there, no doors were opening for you. Just like in the relationship, when you were in the relationship with a person, you were trying to get them to open doors, maybe be more vulnerable, and none of that was happening. But they go somewhere else, and whoo, everything's happening over there, and it's a totally different aspect of them. Our own template dictates a lot of it. So we really have to be able to hold higher states of consciousness and embody in that consciousness. And that means you have to live from that consciousness and ignore. And I don't say ignore a lot on here, but I will say ignoring the threats and all the things that are trying to tempt you back into those human realities, tempt you back into that old consciousness. Look at where you're tuning your consciousness to see. Am I tuning back into the human consciousness? Do I believe that? Do I believe the threats? Do I believe the enticing? Do I believe the carrot dangling that's going to happen to try to get us to go back? Is there one thing that knocks us off? You'll see this a lot when we go through the twin flame matrix and we start clearing a lot of the twin flame energies and the twin flame partner. My mouth is not working today. Twin flame partnerships that we can get enticed. Sometimes it's just that one person that can try to entice us back in, that kind of leads us back into the older consciousness, in a way, outdated consciousness. It is very old consciousness realities. Human consciousness is a very closed consciousness. It's really hard to even call it a consciousness at all because it's not conscious. It's kind of having blindfolds on. And a lot of people will say, how come, all of these energetic things start to open up, all of these things, I can see so much more all of a sudden, but when I was in my human realities, I couldn't see them. Why is all of a sudden these things start happening? Synchronicities start happening. We start to look at the energetics of things. We start to see the connections of things. Well, it was happening in our human realities, but we weren't open to see it. We weren't tuning into those frequencies to see what was going on. We weren't doing that. So by not doing that, we're like, oh, it wasn't happening. It's all happening the same way. There's really not that much difference in fifth dimensional realities and above and human realities in the sense they all kind of exist at the same time, just at a higher vibration. And if we're not tuning into that frequency, we're not tuning into that vibration, we don't see it and we don't experience it. But it's the same thing. it's just kind of upgraded realities every time you go up the chain with your consciousness. We kind of see something else. We're able to see colors are brighter, people are nicer, things are just working, things are working smoother. Things are coming in that I never thought would come in the way, they don't come in the way I thought they would come in, because we have this human consciousness way of realities coming in, right? But they come in higher line ways. They don't come in the way we thought they were going to come in. And they're not coming in the way they thought we were going to come in, or we thought they were going to come in, because these are the highest aligned realities, and our human can't really even picture that. Our human consciousness doesn't even know what that looks like, so it can't plan on it being that person. Plan on the money coming in that way, plan on our new house coming in the way that comes in, or our new roommates coming in that way. It can't plan on those things. It can't see those things because it can't tune to that consciousness. Because human consciousness can't tune into that stuff. It doesn't have the capacity to. It doesn't have the bandwidth to. It's too self-absorbed to realize there's anything else going on besides the physical reality. It is controlled, it's manipulated by the physical reality outside. It is a very outside-in consciousness. You know, everything outside triggers all the inside stuff, but we feel like the outside is causing the inside stuff. That's our human mentality of that. That our outside world is causing our internal turmoil, and when we start raising our consciousness, we realize, no, my inner turmoil is now, I really don't even like the word turmoil, but I guess today we're going to be using words that are not the normal words I use. Inner turmoil, our inner programming, is really creating the outside, but we can't see that until we get to a consciousness to be able to see that. So that's one reason why when we start to see people go on, you know, and we get all in our feelings about it. I had a friend that used to say he feels some kind of way about it. That's what he would say. It's like, I feel some kind of way about that. I'm like, we never really clarified what that way is, but he just would feel some kind of way about it. It would kind of hurt his feelings when he would see that. It would trigger, and that's another reason it happens. It's triggering all that self-doubt. It's triggering all that sadness to come up. Now, if we shift it to what is going on, you know, what's another thing that's going on? When that person leaves, why all of a sudden are they opening up more? Why are they? There can be a lot of different things that are playing in here. One thing is they're going to hold the higher aspect when they're meeting a new person, okay? They're going to hold the higher aspect when they're starting something new. They're going to show that person the higher aspect. I just did a video about trusting, and I haven't posted it yet, but it was basically that we can't trust anybody. Our higher aspect cannot trust anyone in a human aspect, because the human cannot be trusted. So we can't really trust anybody, but we have to have everybody trust us, but we can't trust anybody because the human aspect can't be trusted. You know, it's gonna screw you over. The minute it has a chance to screw you over, it's going to screw you over. And we learn that it takes a long time for us to trust someone. Where in the human reality, we trust the shit out of everybody. We don't care. We trust everybody. Everyone's, as long as they stroke our ego, we will trust it. No matter how distorted the shit is, we will go right down the road with these people. As long as we're getting something out of it, we will trust. You know, we'll trust them. And that's our human aspect. That's our human consciousness. That's what it will do. A higher consciousness is different. We won't trust what we see first off, because we know we're going to see their higher aspect. That does not mean they can hold that aspect. That does not mean it is, even if you want to think about a home frequency, their home frequency is going to attune to a home aspect. It's going to attune to their main aspect that they can hold, right? So if their human aspect functions at it's 300 frequencies, right? If it's in the 300 range, then when shit hits the fan, that's where they're going to go. That's where they're going to make their choices from. They're going to go back into that human consciousness. It doesn't mean people can't hit higher consciousness. They can't hit higher aspects. Everyone is going to show you different aspects of themselves. And that's why it can get confusing for our human aspect when we feel like people are turning on a dime. They were this way, now all of a sudden they're this way. And they used to be like this, and now something's happening, now they act like this. And everyone's fucking bipolar. What's going on? Why is everyone shifting and changing? We start to understand through our ascension that it's not that everyone's changing. They're different aspects of the same people. Their Sirian aspect is going to be different than their angelic aspect. If they're trying to show a Christed frequency, that's going to be different. They can't hold any of these frequencies if their home frequency is their human aspect. It doesn't mean they can't show you a sign of them here and there. When you first meet people, you'll see their soul. And that's what can be confusing, because as humans, we go right down that road because we see the beauty in them. We're like, oh yeah, this is someone I want to be in a relationship with. We don't give ourselves time to really see the whole person, see what happens when things get rough, how much programming is there, because they're not going to show us any of that stuff. So that is one thing you will see people do, is they will now, they're in their higher aspect with this person right now. Can they hold that higher aspect over long periods of time? And it's also the other people playing in that reality with them. You know, they're going to be doing the same thing. If they're still operating from their human aspect, they're going to be placating that reality because they might want it to come to fruition. So they're going to be more tolerant of all this other stuff that after a while in our realities we close down on, because you're like, yeah, I can't deal with that anymore. I don't want to deal with that anymore. These are what we would consider non-respectful realities, haven't gotten there in their new reality. So, you know, they're able to show a higher aspect. But unless there's a lot of time that's passed, their realities haven't reset enough to, and I would say that goes the same for us, right? Our realities won't have time to reset to where we can actually achieve a higher consciousness. We can embody in a different aspect to achieve a different frequency, to now achieve a different external, to achieve a different timeline. We have to let our bodies reset too. And with a lot of times the human ego jumps from one reality to one reality to one reality. We never give time for the reset. We never let our body recalibrate, clear what it needs to clear from the old one to now bring in something else. We don't allow that. We want to go right into the next one. Human consciousness wants to go right into the next one. You know, I don't care how screwed up that one was, I'm going to go right into the next one, and we're going to pretend like that one never happened. It's going right into the next one. And that's just what we do. And that's what we'll continue to do all the time until it gets so bad and we get beaten down enough where we start looking into the other stuff. And that's when our fourth dimensional stuff starts opening up, because we start looking for the energetic reason why everything keeps, you know, falling apart. So when we have another shift on, can that person really be that different? And the answer to it can be, where now the relationship that we might have been in with that person has cleared enough stuff for them that they can now hold a different frequency. They can now hold a different aspect. They are in a different space with that new person. You know, they are able to show something else because we got them there, and we were supposed to get them there. We were supposed to push them up the ladder or pull them up the ladder of awakening or of ascension. And now where they were not open to that with us, they might be open to that with someone else. That's why when I talk about when you're the highest consciousness person in your reality, your job, your duty, your higher consciousness duty is to awaken people to whatever they are comfortable awakening to. We can't push too much. If you push too much, the ego is going to close right down, because it doesn't want ascension or raising its consciousness anyway. It's kind of the death of the ego. It doesn't want that. It knows it's going to deal its final blow. And when we talk about death of the ego, we don't mean it goes away. It's no longer in the Game of Thrones territory, in the sense it's no longer sitting on the throne making the choices. It is now just kind of in the background, saying and being the jester and saying a couple things here and there. It's not even the hand of the king. It is really just there, and we'll hear it from time to time, but we don't make any choices from it. We don't live from it. It's still there, but in a very small capacity. And it knows that. So it's going to shut it down. So it's possible if we push people, when we push people too hard, you'll know when you get to that point with people where you know this is as far as this is going to go. You know, this is as far as they're going to awaken. This is as far as consciously they're going to go right now. They are ready to go on. You know, I remember there was a person that I knew, they didn't know, but I knew I was supposed to awaken them to consciousness, even if it was just, you know, to crack the door a little bit. And after about a year or so, the reality started dissolving, because we kind of gone as far as we could go. I was utilizing it to clear program. There was also a lot of twin flame matrixy stuff going on there, and I was trying to clear that stuff, clear the twin flame matrix. So I was doing a lot of that stuff internally and trying to awaken the person at the same time. And there came a time when I kind of knew that it's just not going to go any farther. And the reality started to dissolve. And the minute I told my universe, which is just higher consciousness versions of me at the time. Just take the person out. Take the person out of the reality. If this can't go any farther in this timeline, just remove them. I think the next day I got a text the person was moving. It can be that quick. So it was like, okay, this isn't going any farther right now. And one of the last things they said to me was, and it wasn't even talking about anything that had to do with awakening as far as what they were talking about in the human conversation. But there was something that said that stuck with me when the person said, oh, it's going to be a while. And then they left. And now I look back on that and I can feel that that's more in a higher consciousness sense. It's going to be a while before they're ready for anything else. It's going to be a while before they're ready for the next step. It could be years and years and years and years and years down the road. They're going to go somewhere else and live out their human life. And we have to allow that. We have to allow that and not take that personal, not make that personal, because nothing is personal when it comes to consciousness and higher consciousness. It's just how it is. We can get into the soul contracts we have with those people, that our agreement is to open them up to a certain place, and then we fulfilled our contract, and the contract we have is more I call it the contract, it's the unconscious part of us in a sense that made all these contracts. Once you get into certain parts of ascension, you no longer have your contracts anymore. You now just straight into ascension, and it's just agreements, and you agree to everything up front before you start realities with people. You don't come into these realities with these pre-written unconscious contracts that you don't remember. But the farther you go into your awakening and your ascension, you know you had a contract with that person to do this. You're supposed to be there. You're supposed to be there to do this thing, and then they're going to go on and do whatever they're going to do for years on end, or it could be longer than that. So you're going to have that going on too. So there's a lot of reasons why we feel like people will flourish after. And some of it is a little bit of just the dynamics of that contract they have with that other person, where they are in their awakening, what we were able to unearth with them in a sense, and what we were unable to help them clear to where they can now go on. And a lot of times when we look back, and it's easy to, when you're in it and we're getting kind of beaten up by that the scenario over and over and over again, kind of playing out in maybe every aspect of our life. And a lot of times our programs will play out in every aspect of our life because we can't shut that down. When we were human and living in our human consciousness, there would be times when we would try to be different. Like our work persona was different than our home persona, and that was different than our relationship persona. And someone could be really tough and hard at work, but then they were with their spouse, they were very soft, and they were softer. They had a different cadence to them. Their energy was a little different. But that's a very human thing we would do. We kind of chameleon in and out of these almost our different aspects. But we were doing it for personal gain. We weren't doing it for a higher consciousness humanity reason. We were doing it to kind of just weave in and out of realities and kind of changing who we were to different situations, but not from the purest place, not from our highest place. We were still being able to do it. But what we found was it didn't kind of work. After a while, you still have a home-based frequency. And if your home-based frequency is not to be a hard ass, and you haven't embodied in really live from a Sirian frequency, which is can be a very strong, powerful energy. Even if you go into God consciousness, all these aspects have a personality. All our higher aspects have a personality. And we're kind of doing the distorted version of those aspects when we're in our human. We haven't really embodied in and cleared all the distortions related to them. So, for example, if when we're embodying in a Christ aspect, when we're in our ascension process and we're embodying and living from that aspect, we're going to have to clear the Savior energy around that aspect, because that's the distortion that we're going to carry when we start to bring in that energy and embody that energy and live from that consciousness. We have to clear that, right? We have to clear the Savior aspect of that. In our human consciousness, we would be playing in that Savior part and trying to save everybody when we would hit that aspect. So when we were doing the same chameleoning in and out in our human consciousness, we would only be able to hit certain things with certain lengths of time. We couldn't hold any of the higher aspects, really. We could just show that we had kind of different aspects, which at the time we didn't even know we were doing. We thought we were doing it on purpose. Like we could really control how we were. Like I can be this way here and this way here and this way here. And me at work is not me at home. And, you know, me on a date is not me doing this or whatever it was, how we would kind of try to segregate it all out. In our human consciousness, we thought we could segregate all that out. We thought we were just so, you know, such chameleons at doing all that and moving it all around. We were just moving from one distorted version of ourselves to the other. Because the only reason we were shifting was to get something out of the new reality we were in. We weren't shifting to be able to bring something out of the person we had in front of us. And when we start embodying in higher aspects through our ascension process and clearing the distortions of those aspects and clearing our distortions we have where we're not living from those aspects, those higher aspects, we do that for humanity. We do that for other people. We do that to be able to bring that out in others. You know, we bring in those frequencies to activate those frequencies in someone else. We're playing in the very distorted side of it, where we're doing it for ourselves in the human consciousness realities, and we start being that chameleon. Doesn't mean we can't do it. We don't even know what we're doing. Like I said, we think we're so magical and smart with it. Our human consciousness just has no idea of what we're doing. And no idea. I would never admit we're doing it for ourselves. We will take the most, what would seem like in our human consciousness to be something we're really doing for other people, and if we really get down to why we're doing it, it's always going to be about us. That's the only reason our human consciousness does anything. There's no other reason. It does it for itself. That's the only reason it does it. It does it for no one else. It's just all about itself. It's all about what it's doing for itself. So we will chameleon in and out, you know, but it's for different purposes. It's not really our higher consciousness aspects. It's not our higher aspects. It's just almost a fraction and a distorted side of them. And we're trying to utilize, whereas in higher consciousness realities, we'll shift to different aspects to do what's going to be the most beneficial for that person to assist them in their awakening. You know, if we have to be very angelic and very soft, we can be that way. If that's what that other soul needs to get to the next space. If we have to be more Sirian aspect and get into our galactic aspects, be more hard ass, we can do that. You know, we're going to live in and out of the ones we're dip in and out of the ones that are going to assist most with that situation. If you're dealing with souls, you can be your softer, higher aspects. If you're dealing with an ego, you got to bring out the Sirian or the galactic aspects, more of the very staunch aspects. But when we're in our human consciousness, we're doing it to see where we can manipulate to get what we want out of it. You know, what do I have to play? What role do I have to play to get what I want out of this situation? What do I have to do to get what I want out of this? And that's where we really run into the, you know, creating more karma and continuing to add to our karmic debt we have to pay off. And not only do we have to pay off this karmic debt, we have to pay off karmic debt in every reality we ever participated in a multidimensional sense. Every reality we ever did. That's why ascension karmic clearing and karmic debt clearing can be so massive. You have the human karma, you got galactic karma, you got ancestral karma, you got abundance karma. It just keeps going on and on and on and on. Atlantean karma, it's just so much to clear. So when we're really in the throes of that over the years of our awakening and our ascension, when we're really clearing, it can feel like we just kind of never get to we just had no idea how much was there. And we get almost shocked when we look back at ourselves from our human consciousness and see all the stuff we did and how ridiculous we were and how mean we were. And you almost have to just laugh about it because we were so unconscious. We had no idea. We had no idea what we were creating. And that's why it would take sometimes longer. One, humans stretch out realities forever anyway. I feel like it took longer for that karmic retribution to come back and smack us. But in our higher realities, the minute you create karma, it smacks you almost immediately. And you almost wait for it to come back maybe an hour later because it's just so many higher frequencies we're working with and we go through reality so fast that it won't take long to clear it. It won't take long for it to come back and us get slapped up beside the head with what we just did. So start to pay attention when people are in different aspects. And if you have situations where you feel like people are shifting, you know, after they leave you, they're supposed to. I mean, they're supposed to shift. And you can really kind of look, is it a real shift or is it just a different aspect of someone they're now showing? Is it an aspect that the other person is going to be more attracted to? Is it the human shifting, or is it really someone shifted? And in human consciousness, we really don't shift. Like I said, it's more of a chameleon-y dance. We're trying to deceive. We're trying to deceive the person in front of us by saying, oh no, we can be this. I can be this aspect. No, I can be this aspect. And in our human consciousness, we would say it's just different facets of the person's personality, right? It's just a personality trait. We'd call it a personality trait. No, it's a different aspect. It's just a very distorted part of those aspects because it's coming from the energy of distortion. It's coming from the energy of selfishness, not selflessness. And we can really start to break that down with people. And that's when we talk about not trusting. We don't trust anybody. You can't trust anybody. You really have to spend a lot of time with someone to gain that trust. But with humans, we want to skip right over that. We don't want to worry about any of that. Because deep down we know if it's a human consciousness to human consciousness, we can't trust them anyway. We're going to pretend like we trust them. We're going to go ahead and trust them to learn our lesson here. But they really can't be trusted to begin with. So it's no reason to waste our time trying to get to know a person. We know the answer would be no, we can't trust them. But when we're in our human consciousness, we don't trust ourselves. So technically, it doesn't matter anyway. It's a big free-for-all. That's why when we start to clear a lot of that stuff, we look back at our human realities, we almost have a get-out-of-jail-free card because we understand that we were unconscious. All the stuff we did was so messed up and distorted, and everyone around us was just as messed up and distorted as we were. We were trying to clear karma. Some people were taking on karma. There were situations we were creating karma to help someone else clear karma. All because we had soul contracts we didn't even know about that we had agreed to before we even got here. And if you're really into your galactic aspects and you really hone into that, you'll see that, Earth is kind of a big galactic prison anyway, and we're working off all our karma. There's so many different iterations, of why certain things happen and different timelines on what's going on, that when we start to really get in these situations where we see people making these massive shifts, we really have to kind of be able to hone it back in and really look at that reality and look at what's happening. Dissect what's going on with us when that's happening. Because there's also another part where they're going to do that to trigger more shit in us for us to clear more. Even though they're gone, they're still helping us trigger by doing whatever they're doing over here. Even though they're not in our reality anymore, which can show us how much we're still attached to that. Because technically, when someone's not in front of you, that reality doesn't exist anymore. But if we're still have a cord of attachment to that reality, a cord of attachment to that person, we're still going to be kind of paying a little bit of attention on what's going on with them, and they're still helping us clear in that sense. But we're still trying to get something out of it. We're not done with it yet. It's still trying to pull that reality back in or keep us in that belief and the programming of that reality where we're going to create it with somebody else. Because we haven't said no to it. Even if we said no to that person, if we're still keeping an eye on what's going on there, yes, there's a purpose to help us clear, but we're still holding that balloon in a sense. We haven't let it go. We haven't resolved it. I'm not big on the letting it go phrase, but we haven't resolved it enough to cut that string loose, and it doesn't matter anymore what's going on over there. I got too much stuff going on over here. So we really have to be honest with ourselves on where we are with a lot of this stuff and try to look at, and those are just a few. There's a zillion other ones you're going to see when you start looking and really delving into these things about why these things happen the way they do. I mean, I could talk for 5 hours about why, and I still couldn't get them all. No one can. There's a zillion I can see and a zillion I won't be able to see. And the same thing with when we're in these situations. When you're in these situations, you'll see the same thing. So, all right, I'm going to open up my chat for a second, see if I have anything. I don't think I do. Yep. Okay, yeah. Okay, I think that's good for today. So I will see everyone next time.